Hello there. So this is our second free response. The first question here says, unemployment rate in the country of Southland is greater than the natural rate of unemployment. So again, recession expansion, long run equilibrium. This is clearly a recession, right? So it's just put that up there so you remember. Use the labeled graph of ADAS, show the current thing, price level, PLC, YC. Okay, so Y, price level, and we're in a recession. Got to remember that when we're drawing this. And so that's YF. And we know if we're in a recession, the aggregate demand and aggregate supply are going to intercept over there. And they said YC and PLC. Okay, for current, I guess is what they're getting at. So then it says the president is receiving advice from two advisors, Cohelis and Raymond. And by the way, those are the people who actually wrote the exam, Art Raymond, and then I think it's Amy Cohelis. Those are the two authors of this test. So if you see names, that's actually because the people who write the exam put their names in, and you can say like, hi, good luck, all that kind of stuff. Cohelis advises the president to decrease personal income taxes. Okay, how would the decrease affect aggregate demand? Explain. Use a labeled graph of the SRPC, show the effect of the decrease, go from A to B. Okay, so I'm going to do this B1 right here, and the decrease in taxes, right? Decreasing, we would say if taxes go down, we'd say therefore consumption would go up, and therefore, this is messy, aggregate demand would go up. And so just be very careful when they say like, how would it affect aggregate demand? You know, and they have that word explain here. That means that you need to like put something in between what happens to aggregate demand and the initial change. And so the in between here can just be that consumption spending rises, right? So when they're asking you to do this, they're really specifically getting you to try to make links in a chain of logic. Then it says B2, and that's the SRPC. So I'm going to do that one kind of a little bit lower. And it doesn't say that you need the long run. So we're not going to put it on there unless they tell you to. For this one, it just is, it is what it is. They want that short run curve, which we could easily do that, but it would actually get a little bit more complicated in all of this stuff here. And they're basically saying, show the effect of the decrease on here. Really, even though they didn't say it, I'm actually going to put it on here because I think it doesn't make sense to do this question without that. So we're going to have an LRPC, like you wouldn't get points taken off for including it. And that's why I kind of might err on the side of include it rather than not. We know we start in a recession. So we're going to start up here as point A. And then we need a point B, right? The decrease in taxes. And so it doesn't tell us that, excuse me, it doesn't tell us that they actually close the gap correctly when aggregate demand goes up. So we could just say we know that it's going to affect it, and it's going to be somewhere along this SRPC down this direction. So we'll just say maybe it does perfectly fix it, and so we'll put point B there. If you put the point B further down, that means that they overshot the goal. They cut taxes too much, right? If you put it between A and B that I have here, then that means they didn't quite close the recessionary gap. So it doesn't matter as long as they haven't told you, you just put it there. So I put it there assuming that they got it right. Raymond advises the president to do nothing though, right? And say, don't do anything. What will happen to the SRAS curve in the long run? And explain. And so it's saying if you're in a recession and you don't do anything, what's going to occur? Well, SRAS will increase, or you could say shift right, because input costs, or you could say input or resource, how do you spell resource? Resource costs decrease as a result of kind of them willing to work for less. You can say because workers accept, you can say lower wages in a high unemployment environment, right? So if there's really high unemployment, then a worker would be willing to accept lower wages, and so SRAS will shift to the right. And it says using a new correctly labeled graph of the SRPC, show the effect of the change that you identified. So now we have to draw this picture again. And for this one, we just have UE percent, inflation percent. And we know that if the SRAS is shifting to the left, then that means the SRPC is shifting, or sorry, if the SRAS is shifting to the right, SRPC is shifting to the left. So we said shift right, so that means the other one has to shift to the left. So we have SRPC and then inward shift SRPC1. And let's double check that it didn't ask us for anything else. Correctly labeled graph of the SRPC show the effect of the change. Yep. So that should be good for C2. All right. So hopefully that helped you. See you next time.